morning and welcome to our Pastor's Corner devotional. In this devotional series, we are going to be exploring various aspects of mental health. All of this in preparation for our own church's discussion on mental health as we approach it at the end of the month of January. Again, none of this is considered medical advice. Again, if you are having struggles or challenges and you need to reach out for help, we want to encourage you to always go to your family doctor or go to an emergency room, or you can contact CAMH at the various phone numbers that we'll put here for you. But again, our purpose here is to simply have a dialogue and to break the stigma of silence as it pertains to mental health today. Today we're going to explore this topic or idea of stress. Now, each of us, we face stress in our lives and we all handle it very differently. And we don't exactly know sometimes what to do or how to handle it. But the reality is that we all experience stress. So what is stress? And the idea of stress is that it's this idea of feeling, of emotion, and sometimes physical tension. It's our body's reaction to challenges or demands that are placed upon us. Sometimes stress can be very positive. It can help us, such as avoiding danger or to meet a deadline that's upcoming. And at the same time, it can be negative, especially if stress tends to be long-lasting or even to the point of being chronic. There's this idea of acute short-term stress, and these are things that are just they're brief. They don't last very long. It's like fighting with your spouse, and you have this stress that builds up when you're driving your car, and all of a sudden you slam on the brakes, and your heart is kind of racing, or even as you just go snowboarding at a very, very high speed, and your heart races. And there's this short-term acute stress. Sometimes it's something new and exciting. Other times it's just because there's danger or things that can also come down. You also come down from it very quickly. But there's also chronic stress, the longer lasting one. And it's the idea of just feeling this unhappiness. Maybe it's due to things like money problems and you just can't dig yourself out of a financial hole, or you're just working in a different work environment. And so these can tend to last weeks, maybe months, and even years. So one of the things about stress is that it actually causes us various effects on us. And again, each of us will be different, but some of us can experience high blood pressure, we'll experience heart disease, diabetes. Sometimes it'll lead us down the path of depression and anxiety. Some of us can feel headaches from stress, forgetfulness, aches and pains in our body. Maybe we're tired, and other times we can't fall asleep because of stress, or we sleep too much because of stress. Sometimes we'll suffer stomach aches and various other things like weight fluctuations. Maybe we'll lose weight or even gain weight as a result of stress. But again, all of stress affects us so differently. But one of the things, again, we want to do is just allow us to have an open, healthy dialogue. That when we say we're stressed, we would have a posture of listening. When someone says, I'm stressed about this, that we wouldn't rush to judgment, but that we would rather listen and just listen to a person as they sort of maybe vent or even explain what their stresses are. But there are moments we should also think about when it's time to get help. Again, some of us, maybe we will suffer panic attacks, the shortness of breath, and our heart starts racing, and we just find that we can't breathe, or we start to get dizzy from things. Another thing that we may need to look at is when we cannot even function from our day-to-day. We can't even do our jobs well, or we can't even do simple tasks at home because stress has built up so much. And other times it's maybe because we become too obsessed with thoughts that we can't control, and fears and worries. And so all that to say is that, again, stress can affect us differently. There are positive things and negative things to it. But at the same time, we want to continue to create the opportunity for people to express what their stresses may be, to even listen carefully, to point people in the direction to get help when needed. I want to share with you a couple Bible verses to think about. Again, I want to caveat this by saying these Bible verses, they're not supposed to be weaponized. They're not supposed to be used against a person if they're struggling with stress. They're not to be used to judge someone, but rather they're just to encourage us. If you're going through stress, sometimes we find that the Word of God can encourage you to rethink and reshape some of the things that we're going through. So I just want to share with you some of these verses. And the first thing is this, is in John chapter 14, verse 27. It says, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." It's just to encourage us that Christ has given us greater peace. to encourage us to maybe dwell on that rather than to allow the other things to overwhelm us and to overtake us. And he says, do not be afraid. Why? Because he is with us. Another passage is in Matthew chapter 18, verses 28 to 30, which says it this way. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And there's an invitation from Christ to come to him with whatever it is that bothers us and challenges us. And he has a promise for us that when we do so, he is there with us. He will guide us through. You may not feel it right away, but it's the invitation is to come into a deep and wonderful relationship with Jesus to help find rest. The last one for us today is in Psalm 55, verse 22. It says, cast your cares on the Lord and he will sustain you. He will never let the righteous be shaken. Just cast it all onto God. He can handle it. He can take care of it. Again, these verses are not meant to judge. They're not meant to be used against you. They're really meant to just encourage you to maybe find new ways to handle stress. So that's it for us this week on our Pastor's Corner devotional. Again, if this is something helpful to you or to someone that you know, please go ahead and share this with them. And again, we are hoping to get you some resources on mental health at the end of this month as we continue to try to break the stigma of mental health in our culture today. So God bless you. Love and peace. We'll see you again.